What's going on, guys? Welcome back to United View. Newcastle 1, Manchester United 0. I mean, really. I can't think of another time that a 1-0 has flattered a side so much. I mean, we've had some pretty poor performances this season, haven't we? We've had some pretty shocking performances and some really alarming performances. But I would go as far to say that's probably the worst performance Manchester United have put in this season. I mean, totally and completely dominated. I think you could only name maybe one or two players that actually really put in an effort. I think you look at players like Rashford, Martial. I think you look at Ten Hag today. I think you look at a lot of people, and there's a lot of very, very, very valid criticism, to be honest with you, because it was appalling. Absolutely appalling. I mean, Martial and Rashford came off after 60 minutes. And honestly, I was baffled because by that point, we'd gone 1-0 down. I couldn't believe that they'd played for 60 minutes. And I couldn't believe that Erik Ten Hag had waited that long to substitute them in the first place. What more needed to be seen at that point? What more needed to be seen? So I think a lot of blame goes on the manager today. I think a lot of blame goes on the players. Just collectively, it was awful. Absolutely awful and appalling. And one of the biggest, most sort of shocking moments was the fact that we got to halftime and it was 0-0, honestly. I mean, talk about backs against the wall. I think Newcastle's biggest frustration coming out of the game today is that they only won 1-0. They'd have probably got to halftime and said, how are we not winning? And even towards the end of the game, even towards the end of the game where there are a couple of moments, obviously the Anthony equaliser gets ruled out for Maguire's offside. And even a couple of, that was really as much as we threatened. And I was sitting there watching it go, but we don't even deserve that. We don't actually deserve that at all. We got exactly what we deserved today. And if anything, the scoreline actually really flattered us today. I thought it was a totally pathetic performance by Manchester United in terms of effort and work rate. Maybe you would look at a couple of players. You would say Harry Maguire. I don't think you can fault him today for the effort and commitment that he put in. If it wasn't for him, it could have been a lot more. Luke Shaw played at centre-back today. Thought he did well. And I think, obviously, you manage your expectations going into the game. Everyone knew going to St. James's Park, it's going to be difficult. They're excellent at home. But it was just the sheer lack of effort and trying that I saw. And the sheer, again, stubbornness from the manager, also that I saw from substitutions and tactics today, because it's kind of the same. We mentioned this coming out of the Everton game and in the Galatasaray game as well, that we are so frail in terms of defensive transition. We're sloppy on the ball. We give the ball away. And then it gets into this counterattack situation from the opposition team. And it always looks like they're going to score constantly. And that's why I said we got to halftime and it was 0-0. And I was shocked. I was stunned that it was still 0-0. I thought, how on earth have not Newcastle scored in this game? And I know we'll go into individual players. I mentioned earlier on Rashford. There was one point where this was in the first half or second half, prior to him being substituted, I think it was, where Livramento skipped past him and he just stopped. He just completely stopped and started jogging and walking. And I was, again, sitting there going, what are you doing in terms of on the pitch? And then it felt like the manager waited for us to go 1-0 down to go, actually, now I'll change them. Rasmus Højlund was warming up at halftime, and yet Martial carried on for 15 minutes in the second half. Why? I don't know why. It was just absolutely appalling. And like I said, I think we know that United are frail. We know we're not very good away, but we've seen in some recent away performances, like against Everton, like against Galatasaray and others, we're not great this season, but there's still an element of effort. And we didn't see that at all. We didn't see any effort today, I don't think. And I think that's the most disappointing thing. Of course, this is the full-time view where members can call in and have their say. If you are a member, you can go over to the community tab on the United View YouTube page. The link will be there available only for members. If you wish to become a member, you can do so. Links in the video description. It's also the pinned comment in the live chat. You get your badges, your emojis, and your exclusive members-only content as well. Click the like button if you haven't already as well. You can get your super chats in too. Like Adrian, who says, Ten Hag is naive. The obsession with McTominay is laughable. We play with no quality on the ball. Rashford needs to be benched. We're playing to lose. Well, that was also what was surprising, wasn't it? That Scott McTominay somehow managed to stay on the pitch throughout the entirety of the game too. And I got I think it was either a comment or a super chat, I forget which, a couple of shows ago. And someone said, "Oh, are you blindly saying it's all the players' fault, not the manager's fault?" I think today's a perfect example of how it can absolutely be both. You know, you can look at a situation, you can look at individual players, go, "You're just not playing good enough. You're not to the standard. You're not to the quality you should be." But also, you then look to the manager and you say, "Why are you persisting with Marcus Rashford today? Why did you persist with Martial for 60 minutes? You know, why did McTominay stay on the pitch? Like, why? Like, all of these questions, why? Why in every single game is the midfield just non-existent? It's just not there. They just run through us. Like, again, not even there. I just don't understand it. I really, really don't. And like I said, it's not as if we're going into this game with huge expectation. We obviously were. I don't think many people expected us to win, but it's more just the sheer, I know, lethargy and just absolutely just poor all around. Absolutely all around. Let's get to some calls though. Let's start off with Amanor this evening. Amanor, what are your thoughts on all of that we saw this evening, or I guess didn't see?
I think I know you said this is the worst, probably one of the worst performances. I think for me, the most obvious thing I noticed was the lack of intensity. You know, when you play Newcastle, you know they're physically the taller players. You got Joe Linton midfield. You'd think Ten Hag and his team selection will be thinking, right, okay, I need to make sure I've got physical players on there. So that's probably why he started with McTominay. But I think it was a bit unfair to bring drop Manu in there in the midfield. He should have played Amrabat in midfield just to provide some more physicality. And they just didn't compete. And because they didn't compete, that's what disappointed me the most. I expected Newcastle to be good at home, and I thought it would be a close match. And yes, 1-0 suggested it was a close match, but actually it could have been 5-6-0 to be honest here. So I don't let the scoreline sort of deceive me in terms of what it could have been. But I think the main worrying thing for me is what did Ten Hag do in terms of build up for this game, and what was his plan? Can you explain that to me? What was his plan for today to win this game? Because I couldn't see it. Could
No
you?
idea. No idea. I think Flex made a really good point in the match for you where he said that, you got opposition fans can close their eyes and recite how their team is going to play. And with United, you have really no idea. And then, well, actually, the pattern of play was United was try and just stay in the game, play terrible. And then when it gets to the 90th minute, kick the ball long and maybe we might get an equalizer. That was it. And that's just, again, it was nothing. It was nothingness.
No, and I'm going to be slightly controversial here. It was a worse performance, but I actually saw some really decent individual performance from one or two players. Luke Shaw at centre back and Maguire at centre back. I thought they played relatively well. Maguire again, he's just on redemption mode. He's, yes, his worst performance, but I'm just looking at individuals here. I thought he played well. I thought Shaw played well. I thought Bruno played reasonably well. In terms as a captain, given the hostility. Yeah, he wasn't as effective as others, but apart from those two or three, everybody else was just lacking intensity. So I don't know whether that's down to individuals or is it because of Ten Hag.
But you say that. This is the crazy thing with that. You say we lack intensity, and I agree. We did. That's a Newcastle team that's got like over 11 players out injured at the moment.
Yeah,
I think they made their first sub, was it like in the 90th minute?
yeah.
It's crazy. And we're a team that we do have subs we can bring on, and none of it made any difference,
Oh,
which is crazy.
And this is what I think KG said perfectly at the end. I think since the cup final, we played Newcastle team 3 times. And every time we played Newcastle, whether it's the A team, the B team, or C team, you've always seen like a progression plan. You can see, yeah, we can see a style of play. United, every time we play, seem to be going down, down, and down. And this was, I would say, in terms of impactfulness, this was probably a worse game in terms of effort and intensity than the 3-0 defeat we had at home against Newcastle against the C team. I would go far as to say that. I know that sounds controversial. How can you say that? We lost 3-0. But I don't look at the score, and just look at the performance. So that, and I think that comes from the manager as well. So I'm not saying Eric Ten Hag out, but Mina said something in the chat before that she's really worried about Ten Hag, and I'm worried about Ten Hag now. And I would go to say that if this sort of performance continues and lack of intensity or the fight is not there, come the Liverpool game, don't be surprised if he gets sacked because he'll sack himself. As
Do you
much as I don't
think
want
it's
to go.
Do you think it's a case of, because this was something that kind of popped into my head during the game today? I thought, You know, when you looked at individual performances, I think there's rumors about a bit of a bust up with Martial during the game. Rashford, as I mentioned at the open of the show, like just walking and jogging. And I worry, is this a manager on the touchline that's almost failing to inspire some of these players anymore?
Yeah,
You know,
possibly.
and I don't know what that, I don't know if that says more about the players or the manager, but there feels like a disconnect at the
Yeah,
moment.
but compare that. So compare that with Eddie Howe and his players. They are down to their bare bones. But when it came to look at the 90th minute, the 89th minute, they were still fighting for the ball. That is the team which has spirit, which has a desire to win. They know they've got half the squad is injured, but they're still fighting for it. And yeah, our team, nowhere near as nowhere near as many injuries as them, but that desire and the fighting spirit's not there. That intensity not there. So is that because of players, or is that the managers, or is it actually the players are now disconnecting from the manager and like they're thinking, okay, I'm not really playing for this manager. I'm not really believing his instructions, and that's why I think I agree with Mina. I'm not saying Eric Ten Hag out, but I am Eric Ten Hag worried. And it will come the Liverpool game. I always said this a couple of weeks ago. Depending on what the scoreline is against Liverpool, and with Sir Jim Ratcliffe coming in, this could be that could be a momentous day for United either way.
No, I agree, certainly. Big up, Aminor. Appreciate the call, as always. Got plenty of calls to get to this evening. JHMM99 says, if Tony, Rashford, or McTominay start the next game, and then Eric seriously needs to be talked about, this shit would have been unforgivable for Ollie. Well, I think, particularly when it comes to, as you mentioned, Rashford, well, actually, those players are, I think, pretty fair to single them out, but you would think at least probably one of them is going to. But the Rashford one, like I said, I was stunned this evening, absolutely stunned. Let's go to another call. Let's go to Chalaboy Comics. Chalaboy Comics. I mean, usually you're quite a positive guy. Look at, the bright side of life, glass half full. Is there anything to be positive about, or is it just a negative evening?
Should I? Good to see you again, Owen. It's always enjoyable to come on these.
The pleasure's mine.
Should I start with the only positive I saw today?
Go ahead. Try find it. I challenge you.
The only positive I saw today was that we defended our box well enough. Let's just put it that way. We had bodies behind the ball.
It's
a big reach. And that's really the only thing I can really say, because we offered nothing. Because I was even trying to digest the game, see what we could have done. And really, we did nothing because Newcastle didn't let us do anything because we were never in the game. It was just one of those things where they just outfought us, as Aminor said. They outworked us, and we just didn't match the intensity. It was almost as if the instruction for Newcastle was get in behind them, run them ragged. They're not going to match you, and that was just a consistent theme the whole way through. I want to just shout out Bruno, who I thought put in work in the middle, because the rest of the players were letting him down. As you mentioned, Shaw, Maguire had pretty strong games, but I know we're sort of going hard on Martial. Agreed, he was non-existent, but I think he just really didn't have the ball to do anything with. I'm more shocked about, not shocked because we come to expect it. Rashford, I think it's just unbelievable. And I have a question for you, Owen. What do we do with him? Is it forgivable as a fan base what he's been doing because this has been consistent, or is this a situation where we just have to say, hey, if you're not going to respect the club, because I see it as a complete utter disrespect to the badge, what should we do with him? Because we saw him not jump in the FA Cup final. We see him never tracking back. We saw him give up mid duel. It's really just unacceptable. So I don't know. I ask you, what should we do with Marcus Rashford?
I don't know. I mean, I mentioned this during some of the press conferences and all that kind of stuff, saying that I had hoped, I hope for the front three was that it would be Garnacho and Antony on either side, based upon that Antony against, I'm not even the biggest Antony fan, but against Galatasaray, he did well. He was progressing the ball, and he does the work defensively, because that's the bare minimum of Antony. He does the work defensively.
Right.
Today, I saw Rashford do neither. And not even did he do nothing going forward, but for me, the biggest eye-opening thing was defensively. Like I mentioned, that Livramento moment where he went past him, and like it was the way he went past him was embarrassing to the point that if you're a player, you should have some professional pride of like
to fight and just even chase back.
Yeah, I've got to chase back, and he didn't, and he jogged. And I don't know. I thought, we mentioned it several weeks ago, didn't we? That Rashford started getting taken off earlier and earlier and earlier. I think now's the time to take him out the side, and just for a while. for a while. But that's all Ten Hag can do. They've just given him a new contract, right? I mean, what would you do? What would you do when it comes to Rashford?
So I don't know, because I never want to be like, oh, let's sell someone who came through our academy. But honestly, I personally, if I was the manager, I'm dropping him, like just straight up dropping him. And he just doesn't come back into the squad until his attitude changes. And that's final. And if he feels he's too big of a star to want to work for the team, I say we cut ties, if I'm being honest. That's, and that's me being emotional after the game. But this is not a one-off thing. This is it's his thing. He does this all the time. So yeah, it's really frustrating. And there was one point in time where I saw Martial start going for a press, and he starts like calling Rashford. He's like, "Where are you? Why aren't you joining?" And Rashford's just body language is just terrible, And so yeah, I don't know. It's shocking, and we can't let him get away with it. I don't know how we have to push, but again, like you said, we've given him a new contract. He's the star boy of the team. He plays like he's bigger than everyone else, and someone else needs to do his running for him, and it's just unacceptable. But yeah, it was a complete domination by Newcastle.
Yeah, absolutely was. Finally, do you echo what Amanor was saying that if it goes on like this, not in the sense of form, because what we said going into the game, our recent form in the Premier League hasn't been awful, but these kind of performances, if these kind of performances continue against the teams that we have coming up, Chelsea, Liverpool, etc., do you worry for Ten Hag that maybe there is a disconnect between him and some players in that squad?
The interesting thing there, Owen, is the fact that this is not new when it comes to, the players, how they perform with certain managers. They happen with Ole, Ragnick. It's happening with Ten Hag. There's a sort of a virus, to quote Jose Mourinho, that's infecting our players whereby they give up too easily. So I'm not even going to bring Ten Hag into this, because it's not like he's losing players. It's the fact that players lose, they act this way with multiple managers, right? And I heard a stat with the US commentary. They said we haven't beaten the top 8 side in about 2 years, and that just goes to show the level of mentality of these players. So I just say we back Ten Hag and just keep giving him new windows to eventually, refresh the team, because I think the formula for Man United now, just to keep myself sane, is to expect that we're going to lose all the big games, and then we just need to win all the other ones, no draws, and just see what happens.
That's what we did last season, wasn't it? Basically what we did last season was don't beat anyone away from home, win the home games, and then, get a bit lucky. But the problem is we haven't been winning the home games this season as well. It's just, it's crazy. It really is. Big up Chala Boy Comics. Appreciate the call as always. We've got nearly 900 people watching. Less than 100 likes, by the way, guys. If you haven't already, click the like button. I know it's not really a time to be liking, and it's always very strange to go like, because no one's liking this apart from if you're an op. If you're an op, like. If you're a Man United fan, like, just because it helps you. He spreads the algorithm. Let's go to another call. Let's go to Show Ramen Show. I mean, I think I asked you for your prediction the other day, and it wasn't that positive. But I mean, I don't think anyone likes to be right in this situation, and I don't think even anyone thought the performance was maybe going to be as bad as what we saw today. What did you make of it?
Oh, just terrible from start to finish. But we started playing in stoppage time. I think we got our first corner in the 81st minute, which says it all. So that's pretty much a disgrace in itself. So I think the only players that could probably hold their heads up high today are probably Maguire and Shaw, which says a lot. I worry for Ten Hag. I really do, because as much as I'm not going to beat Ten Hag out, because I just think I'm sick of this cycle of sacking the managers. But although I do understand the fans that do want him out and are frustrated them, I understand the argument, because just taking today's game and just how he's kind of doing the process in itself, where I struggle to understand him is that although players like, let's say, Maguire have been playing well recently, right, and played well today, if you want to progress the team into be a front foot team, surely, I know it sounds weird because Maguire's been one of our better players, but should you be relying on a player like Maguire? Do you get my thinking? Do you get what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, I think you said it when you said, it says a lot. It does say a lot when Harry Maguire's your best player on the pitch. Not in the sense of like a diss against him, but this is a player that is not part of the future plan. You know what I mean? If that's your best player performing, it says a lot about the other players around him, I think.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. And the thing is, where I will criticize him, because I think it's fair to criticize him, is that, for example, I'm seeing Donny van der Beek on the bench today instead of Hannibal. But I'm like, if you put Donny on the bench today, we know you're never going to bring him on because you don't rate him. So why have you put him on the bench? It just limits one of your bench options. And then you're looking at your bench and you're going, oh, I've got no one to put on. But you're choosing to put Donny on the bench. You're choosing to start McTominay, who, apart from getting the odd goal here and there, offers absolutely nothing offensively or defensively. Because at least with McTominay, if he did his job winning duels, getting back defensively, I could handle the fact that he's not good in the ball. But the fact that he's offering neither, and you're always starting him now, and he was a player that was completely out of favour at the beginning of the season, you're limiting your own process because you're going back to players that you didn't favour. So that's where I look at Ten Hag and I'm like, mate, you're not helping yourself. Like, I want you to succeed, but he's kind of digging his own grave a little bit. That's where I'm looking at him, I'm like, you got to stop picking these players. Like, Rashford, look, I'll be honest, people might say I'm going over the top. We're in a big hole with Rashford. We're in a really, really big problem because me personally, I've always looked at him as he's a purple patch player. He's always been a purple patch player. I don't think he's ever been a consistently top player. He has his purple patches and then he plays like this. I mean, I'm not surprised by how he played today because I've seen it 2 years ago. Yeah. That's the thing. And we've now given him a 5-year contract. We've made him one of the kind of talisman at the club. And he's now returned back to the form that we have seen before until he next reaches his purple patch, which you never know when it is with Rashford. That's the issue. But
could be under another manager this
exactly,
week, right?
Exactly. And the thing is, while he's not in a purple patch, he doesn't have a steady level of performance. He's not a player that week in, week out, you're going to say, yeah, he's going to give me a 6 or 7 out of 10. You know what I mean? He's either really bad or really good. And you can't have a top club, if you're trying to, close the gap to Arsenal, City, etc., if you're trying to get to the elite, you can't have your best players at the club that are so erratic. And Rashford's always going to be an erratic player. Yeah. So, yeah, we're in a big hole with him because people are just waiting for him to come back to form. And it's December now, Owen. We're almost halfway through the season. It's not form anymore. We can't say it's form because at what point do we stop? I mean, do we stop saying that now? Has that stopped now? Is the form thing over now? Like,
I mean, it's funny, isn't it? Because I mentioned it earlier on that I'm like I said with Anthony, I'm not the biggest Anthony fan. I think the jury's way out on Anthony, and he's in the territory of being described as a flop for all manner of reasons. But I think most people, if you asked them, goes, who should have started today, Anthony or Rashford? They'd all go, oh, Anthony, definitely, because even he's in better form than Rashford. And like you said with the Maguire situation, the fact that you can say, oh, Anthony's clear of Rashford at the moment, that says a lot. That says a lot about
it says a lot, especially when Anthony's only scored 2 goals from his last 80 shots. It says a lot. So, I mean, this is the issue when, like, we can get away with it against smaller teams. This is what I was saying to you last week. We got, I mean, it's so funny. The battering we got first half by Newcastle today, for me, it was the exact same battering we got from Everton last week, except for the fact that we had a Garnacho overhead kick last week. We didn't have that in the first half this week. The battering was exactly the same. And how many sides, top sides, can say that in 3 games in a week, they faced 60 shots? 60 shots, Owen, in 3 games. It's outrageous. Like, I mean, you won't even see sides at the bottom like Luton and Burnley playing 3 games in a week, facing 60 shots. I mean, that's
Is that when you go to then like the manager situation? Because, I mean, there's so much talk about Newcastle and the injuries they've got. I think like 13 injuries. And I think to myself, well, if we had 13 injuries, like how would we be playing at the moment? We definitely wouldn't be playing like Newcastle. You know what I mean? Like we wouldn't. And I don't know if that gets into how the manager sets up the team, or as I said earlier on, like he's just not inspiring these players anymore, which says a bit about him, but also about the players because they've done it before. It just, I don't know. United's so
it's a bit of both. I think, Owen. I think you're right on both counts. I think we know these players can throw any manager under the bus. We've seen it, and that's why we said, didn't we, when Ten Hag came in charge, it's important that we transition these players on quickly. We haven't done that, and if anything, Ten Hag has completely reverted back to all of Ollie's players seemingly, So we know that's part of it. The other part of it is I do think that Ten Hag is failing to inspire these players. But at the same time, that's on the players and probably more on the players than him. Because at the end of the day, he's the manager. You got to follow what the manager says, right? So, but it's I don't know. I really do, because I think, we both said that this month's a difficult month, and Chelsea midweek is a funny game because we're both crap. So I don't know. God knows what that's going to be. And then if we go Villa coming up, the Anfield fixture. Look, I don't want to look too far ahead, but that that's really hard to think about that game, honestly, because it's. I mean, like the previous caller just said, we haven't beaten a top 8 team away from home since October 2021. Do you know what game that was? And that's why I don't even count that one. I think that was Spurs away under Nuno. So even even that win is not even like, oh, we had such a great win. We beat Spurs away under. It's like, you know what I mean? So I wonder what the one before that was even. You probably have to go back to COVID times. That's how bad we have been against top 8 teams away from home. I mean, we haven't scored a goal against Newcastle we haven't scored a goal against them in the last 3 games. I mean, it's
that Anfield game as well. That's off the back of playing Bayern at home, and we already kind of know we're out of the Champions League. But it's official after that game.
It's going to be official. And look, Ten Hag. I think the thing is now, right? If he wants to progress, because the thing is, him going back to all his players isn't working, especially in these games. It's not sustainable. So if you want to progress with this team, right, just pick your players. And if we're going to suffer, at least suffer in a way where you're at least building your team in your image. Right now, I don't see a team in his image. And that's the issue I have with him. In that today, we're watching the game and we're just like, bloody hell, what on earth are we watching? Like, it shouldn't be like that bad. Like, you can lose to Newcastle away, no problem. A lot of teams do, but don't lose like that.
It's not so much the loss, it's the manner.
Don't lose like that. Lose, there's a way to lose. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally agree. No, totally agree. Big up Joe Rahman for calling in. Excellent call as always. A couple of super chats here. DN Vlog says, absolutely atrocious performance, Owen. Saint says, what is this? I'm not Eric out. I'm not sure what that is. Oh, there you go. I'm not. Why are you Ten Hag in? The football is dead. Well, I think Show articulated it essentially the same sort of wavelength that I'm on when he said that I worry for him. I do, because I do look at the fixtures coming up and I look at the performance today, a really uninspiring performance. And I worry about how if certain players are trying for him anymore, and look at the fixtures coming up. But I'm still not Ten Hag out, because I'm just not of the mindset of blowing it all up, because I don't see the point at this point. I still don't see the point of blowing it all up, because United is so cyclical, because they'll do the same thing. They'll do the same thing to a new manager in 18 months' time. It'll be once again a situation whereby they've sacked the manager. Why? Because the players gave up towards the end and they've got someone else in. Someone else comes in, they inspire them for a bit, they play better for a bit. 18 months' time, boom. We go again. Oh, actually, they're inspiring them. It's like it'll be the same. It'll be the same. Let's go to another call. Let's go to Charles. Charles, hopefully your equipment is working this time. You've been quite, against Ten Hag in recent calls. I doubt that's changed after tonight's result. What did you make of it?
I've been saying the same thing for just about the last 6-7 games. I said that this guy should have been sacked, because from the first game up until now, there has been no change, no improvement. In fact, we have gotten worse. I was in the private chat telling people like, yo, let's sack this guy. And everyone said, well, not everyone, but Sean and Game Fanatic, they said, sack him and replace him with who? I don't see how that is the discussion. We're talking about if this guy is good enough based on what we have seen.
Well, it's a logical part of the discussion, isn't it? Of if you were to sack him, who would you replace him with in the current market? Is it not?
Yeah, but
sometimes it's a case of who's available.
Yeah, but that's something you discuss at the end of the conversation. I said he's not good enough. You're not telling me what he is good at to keep him in the job. All you're telling me is, well, who do you replace him with? That's not answer. That's not like returning what I'm saying. That's just asking me a question. And if I say Hansi Flick, like I said before, next thing you know, Hansi isn't good enough. Nobody is good enough. Hansi has won the Champions League. Erik ten Hag just made it to the semi-final. If we're talking about people that have accolades and can back it up, Hansi has more accolades than Erik ten Hag. But everybody will sit here and tell me there is nobody better than him for the job.
Well,
Why?
I think when it comes to achievements, and this is the thing, we have tried going down the route of the managers that have achieved a lot. Mourinho, Louis van Gaal, that didn't work out. We've gone down the route of trying someone that was an ex-player, players like Solskjaer. That didn't work out. We went down the route of let's just get an interim in Ralf Rangnick as a consultant. He's not even part of the club anymore. We're now down the route of Erik ten Hag, I guess, progressive coach, whatever that means, right? It doesn't seem very progressive at the moment. But I think part of the conversation is, and this is maybe why some people push back on why get rid of the manager, is because despite different managers and different managers' qualities and different managers' experiences, it's always the same. It's always the same. And a lot of these players, should we not look at them first before we look at the manager?
Yes, I would agree. Look at the players first, but then I look at today's starting lineup. Beyond Martial, McTominay, and Harry Maguire, that entire team is filled with players who we all wanted to keep. Luke Shaw, Diogo Dalot, Wan-Bissaka, Kobe Mino, Bruno Fernandes, Marcus Rashford, Alejandro Garnacho. None of those players did any of us look here and say, sell them. And the funniest thing is, in that match today, our best player was who? Harry Maguire, who everybody wanted gone. Since which game does McTominay come on and score 2? Since then, he's been one of our highest goal scorers, one of our only goal scorers. That's McTominay and Maguire, who we all wanted gone. We move forward to Martial. He only has 1 goal. How many does Højlund have in the Premier League? 0. So effectively, like, what is going on? We all have players here that we like. All of a sudden, it's the players' fault. But last season, it wasn't the players' fault. The season before, when we were talking about players we wanted to leave with the Jesse Lingards and the Paul Pogbas, none of these players were on that list. This is a new set of players that everybody wanted to keep. And for some reason, we're all saying the same thing. We're all saying Erik ten Hag has not been backed. This brother has spent 400+ million, but he hasn't been backed. This brother has gotten the players he wanted, but he hasn't been backed. We can look at all the other managers. None of them were backed the way Erik ten Hag was backed.
Are people saying that he hasn't been backed though? Because
Yes.
I don't know. Because I wouldn't say that myself. I wouldn't go, oh, Erik ten Hag hasn't been backed. I think Erik ten Hag's got money. I think Erik ten Hag's to the team's detriment has got players that he wanted. Right? When you look at people like Anthony, Amrabat, I don't think it's any question of that. I'm just more of the mindset of Man United just as an institution are broken, and I don't see the long-term gain of getting rid of the manager and doing yet again more patchwork. I feel like we've been so mismanaged for a decade plus that we're having to really deal with some of the sins of the past, and we're just going to have to go through this really shitty moment to get to a point where it's more of a positive, you know. And whether that be with Ineos coming in and making changes above, I don't know. But I just again at this stage, I just don't see the long-term benefit of getting rid of the manager, because I think we'll be in the same position in 18 months' time. When we say again, we go, hey, we brought this guy in, but he's not really inspiring the players, and this player's still here. Why is this player still here? Why can't he get the best out of this player? Do you know what I mean? I feel like it's a bigger conversation than just it's just the manager.
Oh, I definitely hear you, like when you say it's a bigger conversation, but my own point being, it's not going to be the same, because with the way Ineos are moving, looks like we are going to get competent people above, people who we said we needed to make this club successful. Don't forget, before, all we needed was the people at above making footballing decisions. That is what will make us great. Now we have people coming in that look like they're going to give us those people with the good footballing decisions. So we can't really judge things based on how they were in the past under Woodward and Arnold and Myrtle Madness. We really can't do that. We need to look forward. We need to see what can be better. And the truth of the matter is, I look at this team and I look at Erik ten Hag. If this was under Ed Woodward, where Mourinho wanted a center back and got Paul Pogba, who was a forward player but playing CDM, I can hear it. But I don't think you get the people above, and all of a sudden, the game we watched today, it gets better. Newcastle had 20 shots or 28 shots. In the 70th minute, we only had 5 touches in the opposition's box. Our first corner was in the 80th minute, and we were all cheering. Like, whoa, we finally got a corner. This is bad. This is very bad. This has gotten to the point where I don't remember the last time you literally sat down and you were confident going into a game. Like you could say, we are definitely going to beat these guys. I haven't had that feeling since I don't even know when, the beginning of the season. This isn't good enough. This isn't how it's supposed to be as a United fan.
Would you feel more comfortable then with, you mentioned like Ineos then, when those people coming in, would you feel more comfortable if Ineos come in and they say, right, we're overhauling the football operations, we're getting these sporting directors in, we're changing the recruitment department, but we believe in this coach, we believe in this manager. Does that change your opinion of him? Do you feel more comfortable with those people above him? Does he get more time then?
Yeah, then he gets more time, because I'm looking at the people above who, again, I said I wanted in for making the football decisions. I'm not a sporting director. I'm not a footballing guy. All I know is what I see as a fan. If the sporting director, the Paul Mitchells of the world, say this guy is the guy to play the way we want to play, the guy to take this club forward, then fine. I will give him more time. And in that more time, he still has to show this is what we are going to be doing. There has to be improvements. If in that time he's still this poor, then it's back to the same thing. Get this brother out and get somebody else in. But as of right now, nobody can sit here and tell me what one thing managerially he is good at to warrant him staying in the job. The only reason why everybody's telling me he's in the job is there isn't anyone else available.
Well, I don't know if it's just that. I think people would look at what happened last season. They'd say, well, he won a trophy, got to a cup final. You finished third without a striker essentially all season. And the striker he got, as you mentioned about the problems above him, was about Weghorst on loan, And I think based upon that, that's probably given people credit in the bank. But I won't deny that it's running out on certain people. I won't deny that people will look today and will go, like in comparison to a Newcastle side that's got 13 injuries, they'll go, why aren't we running through brick walls like they are? You know what I mean? There's an inspiration issue. There's an inspiration issue.
He is an inspiring. Also, just before I leave, Sean over here in the private chat is really going off. So I don't know if you want to bring him in. He seems really pissed at me for some reason.
I don't know. I don't see him. I don't see him. I don't see him in the thing.
I can see him. He's swearing I'm not a United fan anyway. So maybe you want to get him on while his blood is still boiling, just to give a little something. I'm just saying, I don't mind having him come on and criticizing me. Like, I want to hear what he has to say live. That's all.
I would, but he's not here. He's not here. I think he's gone. So there you go, Charles. And no members beef, yeah? We're all Man United fans here. We're all together. Let's go to Lil Yo-Yo. Lil Yo-Yo, talk to me. We do a lot of commentary. I'm glad we didn't have to do commentary over that game or anything like that.
Yeah.
It would have been a lot of swear. The monetization would have gone fast.
Absolutely.
What did you make of it all?
So I'm going to sing a quick song for you, yeah?
Oh, God.
Look in my eyes, what do you see? Man United losing awfully.
I mean, as songs go.
Yeah, but that's how it's a stinky song for a stinky performance.
I'm dangerously close to sing.
But that's how fuming I was.
Where do you sit though on Ten Hag though? Where do you sit on Ten Hag, and where do you sit on some of those individual players after that?
Some of the performance today was unforgivable. Like I've said before, I would want to have a boxing match with some of these players. I generally would like to have a boxing match with our forwards today, except Garnacho. Rashford and Martial, shocking. Unacceptable. Like, I can't believe what I saw from them. Like, did you see that one clip that's going on X or Twitter where is it Rashford was supposed to be trekking back on the right and then he doesn't even bother and then they're just off on the left again?
I haven't seen it. Is it Livramento? I saw the Livramento.
I think it was Livramento. Yeah, the Livramento.
That's the one I was talking about in real time. I saw it and I went, he stopped. I went, he's actually
stopped.
Because he skips past him, literally just skips past him, and he just stops. And he does. You know what's more annoying? It's not even a real jog. It's the fake jog. It's the fake jog of that. You're not
Exactly.
You're not jogging. You're not jogging. You're not even walking. You're just you're going like this. It's
Exactly.
infuriating. Absolutely infuriating. I don't get it. I don't get it, Lil Yo-Yo.
Like we got cooked differently today. Like how Newcastle didn't score 3 or 4 goals, I don't know.
No, I don't know either. I don't. Well,
Right.
I do. They just didn't finish for whatever reason. They just didn't finish.
Almiron is shocking, by the way.
But
Like, how many chances does that guy need to even get? Like,
it's nice
a
to
goal?
have them, though, isn't it? Nice to have
Yeah.
chances in a game. You know, not us. I mean,
Nah.
do you like I said to a couple other people earlier on? Do you worry for Ten Hag now? A couple of different callers would come on and said, "Look, looking at the games ahead, we've got Chelsea midweek." Then we've got Bournemouth at home, but then you got Bayern. You got Bayern at home and Liverpool away back to back in the space of a couple of days, and that's just before Christmas. And that could be a very low moment coming out of the Anfield game, most likely out of the Champions League. I think we all kind of know what the result's going to be at Anfield as well. Do you worry for Ten Hag after a result like today as well?
I'll say this, right? If everyone in the chat, if you're religious, if you're not religious. If you're religious, go and pray to whoever you believe. If you're not religious, then just start hoping at something, because it's about to be a bumpy ride. And do I believe the club have the bottle to sack Ten Hag? I don't think so. I don't think any decisions will be made until Sir Jim Ratcliffe comes into the club. He might just sack him anyways. You never know. Like, at this rate, I don't know what to expect with this guy. I just don't know what to expect. Like, don't be surprised if we end up somehow doing way better against Chelsea.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not even ruling that one out. To be honest, genuinely, you're right. I could actually see us winning that game. I know it seems wild to say coming out of today's result and performance, but you know what I mean? Because it's at home. Chelsea are a bit shit as well. And I know we are, but we're at home. We can kind of, I know this season, maybe not so much, but at home, we do give anyone a game a bit. You know, but it's still
you can't even say that. You can't even say that convincingly as well.
Wow, we do. You know what I mean? But like, thing is, we don't even get away with it with Chelsea, because we can't even be like, oh, we beat a side that's like a top 8 side. They're barely in the top bloody half, so you can't even really give it like, oh yeah,
it's a mid-table clash. Imagine.
Yeah, like, you know what I mean? I don't know. Again, I look at those 2 games back to back, 12th of December, Bayern at home, and Liverpool away, 17th December, Anfield. Like, that is going to be rough. Not even necessarily like the Bayern one. It's just, the Bayern one's just because it's going to be confirmation that we're out, and we know we're out unless some miracle happens. But the Anfield one, I mean, I remember talking to a Liverpool fan. This was actually a while ago, and they were like, "Oh, you know, 7-0. It's not going to happen again this season." And I went, oh, "You'd be surprised."
It won't be 7, but I won't be 7. I don't think it'll be 7, because, look, for example, today could have easily been 4 or 5. But like, I think
you say that, Lil Yo-Yo. What if when they beat us 7-0, didn't they have like 7 shots on target or something like that?
The XG was like 2.
Yeah. So like today, if you had a clinical Liverpool playing us today at Anfield, they could have got 7. They could have, you know, with the chances that Newcastle had in the first half and the second half, like it could have been. And that's my worry. And like, we're so frail defensively in transition as well. If it was like we just lose the ball and suddenly teams are on us and they've got 3 or 4 players running at us, that's what Liverpool do best. Like, that is what they do. Yeah. If it's Salah running at you, he makes the right decision every single time without fail. And that
they got Darwin Noodles up front. So
that is true. That is true. Yeah. That might bring it down a little bit. I don't know.
Yeah, but it might be 3.
It might be 3. I like 3. There we go. We ended on a positive note. I like 3, Lil Yo-Yo. Oh my God, United. Where are we at? DM Vlog says, same story, just sack another sack manager. Never blame the players. Dian says, question, Owen, is there evidence of a regime change at a football club keeping the incumbent manager? I think Ineos will want to bring in their own man. I mean, you do bring up a good point. You know, historically, you tend, whenever anyone buys a club, or this is the weird thing with the Ineos deal, is that it's somewhat irregular, isn't it? 25%, but they've got football in control. What does that look like? Meant to be announced for like 2 or 3 weeks ago. It hasn't been announced yet, so who even knows as well. They might they might want to bring in their own guy. But even then, like I said, I still worry about the players that are here, that they've just... Roy Keane said it a long time ago, didn't he? Saying the Leopards don't change their spots. And it's true. Like, and we do get, and we're not wrong to get sucked up in it. But when the team does well, like last season, we're like, cool, yeah, like this new manager, he's got it. He's inspiring the players, but they sour so fast. And I think it's just a case of with this, like, I don't think anyone expected them to sour this quickly. Certain players. And I, like I said a couple of times today, I really did watch that game and just went, some of these players, they're not trying. They're just jogging. And against a team, against Newcastle, that's just all effort and effort to overcome talent. And they've got very talented players as well. But they make up when they play teams that maybe have better players than them on paper. They make up for it in the effort that they put in. And United, they just put in no effort, very little effort, apart from a couple of players. Chalaboy Comics says, forgot to mention it, but another huge issue with this squad is a lack of athleticism. So we get overpowered easily. New athletic recruitment needed. Just new recruitment needed, I think, certainly as well. How many likes are we currently at? At the moment, we're currently at 173 likes. See if we can get to 200. If you haven't already, click the like button. Remember, you can subscribe as well. Bottom right-hand corner. Let's go to another call. Let's go to Riri. Riri, what did you make of everything that went on today? Another poor performance.
That wasn't poor, Owen. That was depressing.
Yes, it was. I was too kind. I was too kind with what I said. Yeah, indeed.
It's the correct adjective. That was so depressing. All the callers ahead of me said, what I'm feeling and my thoughts. It's a lack of effort today on almost everybody's part. Again, I can't understand what it is that Ten Hag is seeing in Rashford. He keeps picking him, he keeps putting him in the team, and everybody else can see that this guy, he has no motivation, he has no desire. There's I don't know what happened to him, but he's not playing like a Manchester United player. He's not playing like an academy player that's been playing for the badge how many ever years. And I just think he needs to sit down. Martial is so inconsistent. One game you'll get, the Martial that, will hold the ball up, will make moves, will turn on a player, and then you get the Martial today that was doing up close to nothing.
Ten Hag screaming at him on the touchline, telling him to try and do something.
Yeah, and then you got McTominay that. This guy gets lost in midfield. Like, I don't understand why he keeps picking this guy. Like, he disappears in the midfield. Like, he just runs around like a chicken with its head cut off. Like, just I don't get it. I don't understand it. I don't get it. Mina made a comment. Like, I am really worried about Erik Ten Hag. Like you could see it on his face today when they were showing like after the game and they were interviewing him, like he was literally trying not to throw his players under the bus.
Yeah.
And I think game after game it's becoming very difficult for him not to start speaking out against these players. There is a big disconnect between these players and this manager. It was very evident today, very, very evident that there is some sort of disconnect. Even the body language on the bench. One time they panned to the bench and Varane had a smile on his face, and I was like, "Your team is shit right now, dude, and you're smiling like crazy." Today was so disappointing on so many levels, and I don't know. I looked after this game. I looked at our schedule, and we've got Chelsea on Wednesday or Thursday. Then we have Bournemouth. Then we have Bayern next week, and then we got Liverpool. Like, out of those 4 games, maybe we get a draw at Bournemouth. Like, this is where my head is at this point.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you know,
you're
based
right.
on that performance today, like, it's just, these players, they get no, you know, everybody's Ten Hag out, and I get it. You know, his decisions are, you know, they're suspect. You know, you look at him and you're like, why? You know, but at the same time, you have players that are not tracking back. You have players that are jogging. You got players that just look like they don't even want to be on the pitch.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
what do we do? What do we do about those players? Why isn't anybody calling for their head? Why isn't anybody calling for them to be sold? Why, you know, like, you can only change but so many managers. Which manager is good? Tell me which manager in any league is going to come in and get these players to play with the passion and the desire that is necessary.
Yeah. And that's the concern.
Newcastle played up to the 99th minute today.
Yeah. With 13 players out injured, and I think their first sub was towards the end of the game as well.
Exactly.
And I think
they were still playing, they were still running, and you could tell they were running on tired legs, but they were still running.
Yeah. No, exactly. You're right. And I think this is the funny thing, because there was a report came out recently saying that Erik ten Hag and his coaching staff are frustrated that they think they can't criticize their players more because basically they think they're soft. And you're right. Then you look at a game like today and you're going, but you've got to criticize and you've got to be harsh on them because this soft approach isn't working.
Most definitely. Most definitely. I get that you don't want to come out and, you know, and talk down about your players, but at some point you got to be like, listen, this is unacceptable. You know, this is unacceptable. The lack of desire, you know, you don't have to be single out players. You can do it as the team. Like, speak about the team because it is the team.
Yeah.
It's not just this particular performance you can't pick one player out of this performance. It's all of them.
Yeah.
You know, so it was so disappointing today. It was so disappointing to watch, to experience as a Man U player, as a Man U fan. It was just, it wasn't good today. Today wasn't good. I haven't seen them play this bad in a very, very long time. Like, there were games, yes, we may not have won, but you could at least pick out some positives. They weren't, outside of Maguire running up and down the pitch like I've never seen him do ever. Yeah. You know, there wasn't that many positives to pick from this today.
No, there really wasn't. Big up Riri calling in as always. Excellent analysis. Long-time member of the channel as well. I've got a couple more super chats, then we'll get to our last call. M Sati, here you go, says, let's get over We Are United and quick fixes. It takes time. We've fallen far already. Erik ten Hag in. If we flopped last season like Liverpool, we would have sacked Klopp. Fan base doesn't learn from history. It's almost like the problem is that if we had this season last season, I think people would have been a much more, shall we say, patient with it, because they'd say, well, you know, this is what we expected. But it's almost like expectations got artificially raised last season because of the cup finals and because of the trophy and because of a third place finish and all that, you know. And now we've kind of got back to where we actually are, which is a bunch of players that don't try that hard, that flip-flop on the manager, that a good performance is depending on how they feel that day. And if the manager shouts at them too aggressively, then they won't play for them, you know. they just won't. Let's get to our final call. Let's go to Joe Blackman. Joe Blackman,
what did I just watch? What did I just watch? Yeah, that was trash. Oh my gosh. Do you know what? Yeah, I don't even think I can follow Riri's call because she just said everything I wanted to say. Yeah, literally starting from Rashford. Oh my God, please somebody. You know what? Little Yo, you said he wants to have a boxing match. I swear I want to have a UFC match with him. Yeah, because he might as well just have broken legs.
Straight away takedown. Straight away double takedown, you know.
Double takedown, Lashley style, just boom, down, ground and pound. Yeah, because honestly, actually, hold up. Yeah, but you know what? Honestly, I cannot deal with the laziness in the team now. Yeah, you can tell when players are finished. Rashford is literally acting like the last season of Ollie when I hated him. Yeah, I hated Rashford then and I'm hating him now. Yeah, you can see when they give up. And I'm tired of this give up feeling. Just because you're not performing well doesn't mean you give up on the team. Yeah. This is what his problem is. He's not performing well. So you know what? He doesn't care. Yeah. He's still going to get paid. He's still going to go home happy. He's still going to not give a crap. Yeah. And this is my problem with certain players on the team right now. Yeah. This is why the manager needs to rely on the players that he believes will actually play for him. Forget who's getting paid. Just play the youth if you have to. Even if they fail, I'd rather see them play. It's just like Riri just said. Yeah, Newcastle players played till the very last minute. What did we see? We started playing when they made their first substitution. That's when we started playing. Yeah, when they made their first substitution, we started playing well.
Last minute.
Yeah, it was all rubbish.
It's funny you mentioned that because I remember when Hannibal played in the team for a little while, around like the Burnley time, and he put in these running stats, and people at the time said like, "Oh, what, you're happy with our running merchant?" And we were like, "Yeah," because he actually ran around. You know,
damn right. Yeah, where was McTominay? Yeah, it's true. Like, why was Donny van der Beek on the bench if you're not going to play him? I think Donny van der Beek would have given a better performance than McTominay. Yeah, at least he would have kept the ball moving. He would have kept the ball moving. If it's one thing Donny van der Beek can do is keep the ball moving. He might not be the most physical of people, but when he's on the ball, he can pass and move. Yeah, give him the ball, he pass it and move it quickly. Yeah, we don't have any players on the pitch apart from, well, in the midfield anyway, that are doing that. Yeah, especially if we're going to have a midfielder like McTominay that's going to disappear during the game. Yeah, I was saying at the beginning on someone else's stream that, you know what, maybe he could start and it'll be all right because, you know, he scored a couple goals. Sorry, not on someone else's stream. It was on KG's stream earlier, right? On the on Good, the Bad and Ugly. I said that we was that.
Be sure to check it out.
Hey, make sure you go check it out. But honestly, he's really letting us down. Yeah, yes, he can score a couple goals and then he turns up when the ball's in the box. That's the only time he turns up. When it's time to be physical, where is he? Yeah, when he's supposed to be Scottish. What the hell? Yeah, he's supposed to be a bruiser. Yeah, I don't want anybody on the pitch that's not going to give 100% anymore. And I don't care if they're young. I don't care if they're old. I just want them giving 100% when they're on the pitch. Yeah, and I'm not seeing that right now from the players that we have. And if we keep on playing, you know what? I'm worried about Eric Ten Hag. I'm also worried about my £200 because I bet Pav £200 that Eric Ten Hag would be here next season, and it doesn't look like I'm going to keep it if Eric Ten Hag keeps on doing what he's doing. Yeah, bro, I'm scared. Yeah, I want Eric Ten Hag to stay here, but, and there's a big but. Yeah, I already thought Ineos wanted to make changes. The changes might just be Eric Ten Hag. Yeah, they said they were backing the manager, but do they really? Are they really going to get rid of Rashford, that star boy? Because I think a big step is to say that, you know what, Rashford is not the star boy anymore. Yeah, I don't care if you bench him or not. I'm not saying to get rid of him. In my opinion, I don't think we should get rid of him just yet. But I do believe we need to start dropping him and making him realize that if he's not playing, he's not unreplaceable. That's the message he needs to receive. And I don't think he's receiving that.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Ten Hag was asked that in the press conference. He said, is Onana undroppable? And he said, nobody's undroppable. And I think people rightfully so at the time said, well, it feels that there's certain players that are, to be honest. And I know technically he dropped Rashford last season because he was, a couple of minutes late to the meeting. But where's the energy for that this season? You know what I mean? Forget lateness. Yeah. He's not
but that's not the same. Yeah, but he dropped him for how long? He dropped him for like what? Just the start of the match.
45 minutes.
He still played. Yeah. He still played. Yeah, it's not a real dropping. That's not dropping somebody. Yeah, dropping Rashford right now means you ain't started and you ain't coming on the pitch because you offered nothing in the last 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. How many matches? You've offered nothing. Why do I start you? Why do I bring you on? Listen, if Amrabat's fit, if Palestri's fit, I don't see any reason for Rashford to play the next 4 matches. If any of them if they are all fit, yeah. Rashford should miss at least 5 matches in a row. Yeah, I don't see any reason why he can't if we have a full fit team. Yeah, that's my ultimate message to Ten Hag right now. You really need to start dropping people or I'm just going to give Pav £200 before Christmas because you know what? I can see you're going to get fired as soon as Ineos take over properly. Yeah.
I mean, also as well, I mean, it says a lot because let's face it, like Rashford started out on the right in the recent games. He's lost his spot to Garnacho. Like that spot is Garnacho's spot at the moment. So Ten Hag's trying to fit him in to the team at the moment. And even trying to fit him into the team is not working. So he's not playing well. He's lost his spot. I mean, the option is the answer is very clear to the question, isn't it?
So drop him then. Stop. You know what? Yeah. Ten Hag. Yeah. Where's your balls, bro? Drop him. Drop him. I don't care what the owners say. You know what? If you're going to get fired, you might as well play people that are going to believe in you. Yeah. Get fired by using your tactics, by using what you believe in. Don't get fired by trying to sustain what these people want. Yeah. Do you, bro. Do you. Yeah. Ten Hag, please do you. Yeah. That is my message.
Yeah. Do you. Joe Blackman. The message is Ten Hag, do you, and please keep your job because he wants to keep £200. There might be some kind of a smidge of bias. There's £200, 200 smackaroons on the line there as well. But there you go, guys. That's the full-time view for you today. Newcastle 1, Manchester United 0. Another away defeat against the top 8. I mean, it's getting bigger as well. It's not even top 6, top 8 sides in the Premier League. It's shocking, isn't it? It's really, really bad. A reminder, though, there is all of the fan views that are coming out right now. Player ratings, Flex's player ratings, KG and the crew inside UVHQ's player ratings too. I'll be live tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. for Match Day Reloaded. Then the panel will be live tomorrow evening, 7 p.m. for the full view. Plenty to get into. There's a lot to get into tomorrow when it comes to this defeat, when it comes to Ten Hag's future, when it comes to Marcus Rashford, Harry Maguire's, I guess, resurgence, all of the above. So we're going to be live tomorrow twice in the morning and in the evening as well. I appreciate everyone that's tuned in. Have a great Saturday, or at least try to, what's left of it. And I'll speak to you again very soon. I'm out of here. Peace.